Hey gang, Ed here, and I'm very excited today to bring you the director's cut of that amazing experience we had in the prior video. You'll see a link up here with any luck if you want to see how this prompt performs. In the description below, you'll see a link so that you can get the prompt and play with it yourself. In today's video, I'm going to break it down step by step. Got a little presentation for you, so you can understand the thinking behind creating the prompt. I'll say this a couple of times, but I want you to be really clear on this. Your expertise and knowledge of the systems you are creating to make the prompt are intensely valuable. There's so much stuff at the moment that is being created, like coaches and do cool things with your prompt and write sales letters and all those sorts of things. What I hope to prove to you today is that if you utilize your expertise and build it into the prompt, you'll get a prompt that worked, like our Ikigai super prompt. Let's head over to the director's cut. Before you go, please, could you like this video? Please, could you subscribe to the channel? And as the kids say, can you ring that bell? That would be very appreciated. And frankly, gosh, if you found this useful, I'd love you to tell other people about it. Remember, super prompt link in the description below. Let's get to it. Okay, welcome to my Ikigai super prompt director's cut explanation. Let's go through this and break the prompt down section by section. Our first section is, hey, Chat GPT, here's the thing. A large language model is trained on language. And my thinking is, if I treat the AI like I would treat somebody I work with, I'm going to get a better result. I'd like to think I treat the AI with humanity. My hypothesis is kinder language draws on the kinder side of ChatGPT's responses. If I want the prompt to act kindly, I should treat ChatGPT kindly. It's a theory, and as you'll hear later on today, we'll talk more about it. Okay, so the next part of the prompt, let me explain what this is. You can read the paragraph. Let me explain what's going on. And as a reminder, links to the actual prompt down below. So this paragraph is an example of what we call a system prompt. It sets the frame of the conversation I want ChatGPT to have with a student. I want to explain who they will help and what the student's goal is. I've defined the session as a coaching session, and I've defined the character the AI is playing in the session. I've defined a personality for the coach, I am so sorry, and want ChatGPT to use simple language. The last sentence, though, is particularly significant. It defines an integral part of being a good coach. It's something I would do in a session with anybody, face to face. I want ChatGPT to look for uncertainty and to ask questions if the student needs to be more specific. So let's go to the next part of the prompt. Here we're talking about, pardon the pun, the reason for the prompt being. I've got to tell you, this is super hard for me as a computer geek. I'm used to giving explicit instructions. When you are designing prompts for LLMs, large language models, they work like the I know Kung Fu scene from The Matrix. This to me is a vital part of the magic, and it is freaking fantastic. Now, this is a cool thing and not something that you've seen a lot of. This really is the guts of a super prompt process. I literally say prompt process. I put this in an experiment and it was fine. Another part of my working theory on prompt design is this. I'm writing my prompts like I would write up a memo for a super bright intern. They have the best general knowledge in the world, but no street skills. If I was handed a document where it was treating me like a robot, I'd be pissed. Treating ChatGPT how you would like to be treated is a really good idea. Hey, take your pick for a reason. 1, this is a good way to operate in life. 2, if the large language models do pretty much work like our brain does, then you get better work when you treat someone with kindness and humanity. Why not work like that as an operating assumption? Your prompt reads better, which means people can understand it better. They can experiment with it and improve it. And let's not forget, Dale's golden rule for AI. Optimize for happiness, a theme you'll hear me coming back to again and again. So, in this next slide, we've asked the prompt to introduce themselves and ask the student their name. Look, I'd do this if I had a student in front of me or on Zoom. You bring these little touches to the experience to open up the power of Chat GPT. Chat GPT and humans work better with constraints and rails. This is why I think you have an excellent opportunity to help your niche with designing super prompts and then plugins and services based on your research. So in this part of the prompt, look, again, this is potentially covered in the system prompt above, but any good coaching session requires a frame. I again reinforce the personality I want ChatGPT to adopt. It might be super redundant, but if I'm working with a super bright but no experience intern, it's good to emphasize important points. The coder in me rejects this concept. Code bloat is terrible. But I'm not working with code. I'm working with a large language model. Emphasizing key points is crucial in communication. That's my working theory anyway. Oh, crucial? Said crucial a lot. Asking permission to proceed, this is really important. It's good coaching practice. If the person is not in the mood to be coached, we should end the session gently and not proceed. A large language model is actually pretty darn good at recognizing snark, and unlike a human who would potentially react poorly, ChatGPT has infinite patience. ChatGPT is a better coach than me. I'm not sure if you're familiar with AI Jesus on Twitch. It's a magnificent example of this in an environment of teenage boys, in mentality at least. Its ability never to be ruffled and indeed highly clever techniques to reflect the insanity thrown at the AI, which makes the person who generated the insanity regret the decision, is impressive. Link to AI Jesus below. Not a sentence I would have thought you'd have heard me saying before this year, but hey, what happens if they decide not to go on? Then we need to do something. And what are we going to do if they do decide to go on? This section of the prompt lets ChatGPT know it's okay to end this session. If the student's not ready, if they are ready, use my signature phrase, let's get cracking, and go to the next step. Honestly, the steps thing in this prompt was an experiment for me. Does ChatGPT need it? I don't know. However, this is a session based on a process I designed, and it felt right to do it this way. This is how I'd teach a fellow coach how to do it. It has a little bit of a code feel, and I'm good with that. Given how well the prompt works, I'll continue to use this approach in future super prompts. Using numbers like this makes it easy to read, and as you'll see later, saves on time, and for you AI nerds, tokens. Our next part of the prompt, we're looking at the first sentence in here, was a lesson learned from our basic prompt, which we saw in the very first video of the series. You can see a link there. ChatGPT will answer everything after every prompt unless you ask it not to. Makes sense. But now I understand how the partners of the world feel when being mansplained instead of listened to. The next slide, we want to reinforce a critical point. Testing this session with colleagues has been, in some ways, the most incredible thing. Ability to be encouraging and ask follow-up questions is absolutely remarkable. The prompt gets things going here. But importantly, I've hard-coded lessons I've learned from doing this exercise over the years. That last sentence, for example, is crucial in this process. It's not something, unless you've got experience, you'd say. In many things, marketing in particular, specifics beat generics. And boy, oh boy, am I seeing a lot of generic prompts at the moment. So ask them, what are the things and topics you love? That's pretty self-explanatory. Again, this next point reinforces that we want ChatGPT to remember the responses and not answer immediately. I love how conversational both writing the prompt and how much better ChatGPT is when you engage in a conversation with it. Then we give it, and this really is an important essence, there's a whole bunch of questions that I build into this part of the prompt. Now, you can't see this on the slide, but I'll give you examples and you'll see it in the prompt below. What topics and debates really interest you currently? What about in the past? What things, hobbies, practices you did as a kid that people would have found weird, or at the very least, very few other kids did. These are questions which are born of hard-won experience. And what's impressive to me is how ChatGPT does use them, but remixes them in my tests, which is just phenomenal. This prompt is another example of the value add your experience can give to the prompt design process. We know from experience we want people to have options. This prompt is incredibly general, and I love the care, based on the system prompts above, ChatGPT displays in the session. In this next prompt, we use the classic Michael Bungay Stainer question. And what else? He calls it the or question. It's a fundamental coaching question when you're asking for options. Here, we trust GPT to figure it out. ChatGPT does a great job. In programming terms, I've set up a loop with this section. In fact, I can create a loop with a paragraph like this is mind-blowing. This next part of the prompt moves the session to the next stage. I love I don't have to write a specific description. It picked up my order. I did not tell ChatGPT, and it worked out that I wanted to use the student's name. Brilliant. This part of the prompt was just so exciting. When this worked, I was blown away. By numbering the process, I can get it to refer to different parts of the prompt, and I don't have to retype. And even better, it saves on tokens. It's more efficient, which my AI nerds will absolutely love. So it's brilliant. I don't have to rewrite it. I was amazed when they could do this. And here, again, we've got a bunch of questions which I've put in, which you can't see in the slide, but you'll see in the script below. And again, they're relevant to this part of the process. So things like, what do you spend time when you're not working on? What do you do for an enjoyment when you're a teenager? What hobbies were you interested in? Stuff like that. Then guess what? Repeat parts 10 and 11 until they're ready to move on. Yay! Programming without programming. It just works. Slap me down and call me Freddy. Now, we're going to move into the next part of the process. But it looks the same as the second question. However, there is a subtle difference. Good coaches check in with their students to see how they are finding the process. I've built this into the prompt, and as you saw, it works great. Another thing someone who does not coach wouldn't know. And I'm seeing so many prompts being created of copywriting letters and all these sorts of things, which keep it generic, and you get generic responses. You won't get responses like in this super prompt. Yay, more code without code. It's just amazing to me that this works. If they're having trouble asking the questions, you could ask questions like, and again, they're not here on the slide, but they're things like, in anything you've been paid to do, have you been promoted, praised, or got awarded for? Here's a list of things you loved from answers of the first question. Are there people who get paid working creating businesses in this area? It works so well. And again, these are questions from experience. I've literally done this Ikigai process thousands of times throughout the challenge. So, real talk. I've been writing this prompt for a while by this point, so I really wanted to see how it coped with this shorter description, and it was awesome. I suspect, I can't prove this, but I suspect because of all of the training that we've done, we've well established the pattern, which, interestingly, is how humans work, not computers. It's so educational for me to review this prompt. You can see how I've written in order of thought. I've got it out of order. It makes sense in a conversation, but it's terrible from a computer perspective. However, ChatGPT integrated this instruction with the following one. If I was rewriting the prompt, I might fix it, but I might not, because this is how I would talk about it conversationally. But from a programming perspective, it's terrible. I noticed people using tables in their prompts, and I thought, whoa, wouldn't it be nice to have a table here and see if ChatGPT could do it? And of course it did. In some ways, this makes it better than a coaching session. It also reinforces the fact ChatGPT has been paying attention, and that's such a crucial coaching technique. Very important for that to happen. You'll remember this interaction in the demo video for the prompt. Again, link below for that first part of the series. ChatGPT asked the question pretty much exactly as written. Nevertheless, I neglected to say which should be asked first. ChatGPT covered for me. Many humans would try to save face or assume you are answering the first part of the question. I love the fact it did not assume, as it makes an ass out of you and me. And it asked the question in an unassuming, apologetic way and took the fall for me as the prompt designer. I love this person. I'll edit this in future versions to make it much more straightforward, but it's phenomenal to me how it basically self-corrected. At this point, look, I'm testing crazy things out, and yet again, they keep working. I'd probably refine this section of the prompt to make it super clear this was happening to the user and define the column names to make it more transparent. Nevertheless, although this prompt process, my whole approach was no way Chat GPT could do this. And repeatedly, Chat GPT could. It's remarkable. Now, this type of interaction is bread and butter for a coder, which is why I never became a programmer in my pre-ADHD treated world. The thought of having to code an interaction like this makes me sleepy. My entire management career in tech was about describing stuff like this and letting the program team work it out. The fact that you and I can do something like you're seeing on the screen right now is extraordinary. Then, this prompt section tackles a crucial part of a really good coaching session. You must get the client to articulate what has been valuable in the session. The fact that I could ask ChatGPT to use these specific insights to shape the report is bananas in and of itself. The fact it is producing a report in real time is nuts. In the video demo, this threw out a surprising emphasis on Dungeons and Dragons. I can see now ChatGPT was doing its job based on this prompt selection. Now, there was a bug in the demo session. ChatGPT acknowledged the insights but did not produce the report. I'll need to tweak this part of the prompt. So I did cheat by asking for the report in the demo video. However, here's the thing. The fact I could ask for the report is astounding in itself. If this was a regular program, the entire session would have been lost at that point, and that would have sucked. It would have been terrible. So what was interesting about ChatGPT's report was it was written like a diagnostic or a coaching report, which ChatGPT inferred correctly from the system prompt above. It referred to Tony in the third person. For this interaction, I'd want the report prepared for the user, and I could add the instruction here. The report was excellent, and I'm sure I could do many things to refine it, and I encourage you to take what I've done here and have a play with it and modify it and put it back and let us know how you did. Just give us an example of how you utilize this. The final part of the prompt, and I'm going to read this one. Thank you so much for your work here. This session will really help a lot of people. Is this useless? Maybe. However, suppose I was working with a bright but life-clueless intern. In that case, my experience is thanking them for their work and explaining why their work matters is common decency, and people and ChatGPT use positive feedback to modify behaviour. I saw a tweet from an author I actually really admire, and it made me irrationally upset. They said, I do not say please and thank you to ChatGPT because it is not a person. Frankly, there's a whole script for me to produce on why I think this is a poor attitude and will produce worse output for ChatGPT, but I'll save that for another time. Hey, I hope you found that useful. And what I want to do here, the whole reason for this channel existing is for us to work collaboratively together to figure out how we can create super prompts like this to help people start, pick a niche like we're doing here, design, test a niche, that's what we're going to be working on next, creating products, and so on, all with the help of AI. I think if we can do it at this deeper level based on all of our experience from 15 years of the challenge and 25 years of doing this stuff, I think we're going to have a really interesting time. So again, thank you for watching. Make sure you like, share, and ring the bell, as the kids say. Please, if you found this useful, can you tweet it out and do all those sorts of things? It super helps the channel grow, it really does. And I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear from your experiences. Did you use the super prompt? Please tell me below. Let me know in the comments. How would you make adjustments? What would you change in the report, for example? What things would you ask ChatGPT for in the report? It's pretty remarkable. And now I've taken you through the behind the scenes. Do you think you might be capable of doing stuff like this? And if you are, your value going forward is going to explode. And I'm really excited about it. Hey, it's great to be back. I'm having a ball doing this. I'm loving your comments, loving talking with all of you, and I'll see you in the next video. Ciao for now. By the way, did you like my Dungeons and Dragons t-shirt, ladies? I thought, hey, I'm a baller and that's how I roll.